Hey, welcome in. Well, what is the truth about Canada's ability to control the global temperature in any way? But I have to say first, watching the debates for the most recent election in Canada was a maddening experience. I mean, for one, because nobody said anything of substance at any point. And within that, they spent it seemed like an eternity that they spent talking about climate change, which, as always, is just a bunch of platitudes and vague promises. You know, the things that always surround issues that everybody refuses to deal with, honestly. But they all sound very serious, and as if they actually believe what they're saying. And, you know, just listening to these politicians, you'd think that somehow Canada could prevent every forest fire, every unseasonably warm day anywhere in the world, every hurricane or typhoon, if Canadian political leaders just simply talk about it enough. Well, I mean, I guess there is the carbon tax, right? There's the carbon tax, because that's not just a money grab. Oh, there's a carbon tax. Oh, I guess I better get rid of my car and, stop heating my house in the winter. Oh, I guess we'd better stop having food delivered to the cities where we live. Yeah, I don't think the carbon tax thing is going to change the climate of the world. Anyway, let's take a look at CO2 emissions by country. So you look at this. This is from 2016. And look at this. Canada is 7. That sounds pretty bad, actually. So if Canada is the 7th biggest emitter, I mean, should be able to do quite a lot, right? Well, let's see. What's our share of the world? Oh, 1.89%. And also, and keep in mind, this includes the emissions that are necessary to provide the energy that we export to other countries that are going to use the fossil fuels that we provide to do things like heat their homes and drive their cars and deliver food to their cities. But 1.89%, that doesn't seem like very much. Well, let's just pretend Canada's gone. Canada's gone off the planet now. So there, we've dealt with it. 1.89% of the world's carbon emissions gone. Problem solved. Problem solved, right? Now we can go back to the climate of the world never changing ever for eternity. Well, here we have something from Forbes. The world is not going to have carbon emissions by 2030. So now what? It says here, last year, the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, the IPCC, reported that limiting global warming to 1.5 degrees Celsius would require rapid, far-reaching, and unprecedented changes in all aspects of society. Specifically, global net human-caused emissions of carbon dioxide would need to fall by about 45% from 2010 levels by 2030, reaching net zero around 2050. So let's see, needing to fall by about 45%. Well, let's see, we got 1.89% of the total. So, yeah, that's not going to help, is it? I mean, you got China here with 29%. So I'm sure that, you know, Canada's a good example of stopping existing. That'll surely sway China, right? Except, let's see, 5 Asian countries account for 80% of new coal power investment. Well, coal isn't green energy. Hasn't anybody told them that? China, India, Indonesia, Japan, and Vietnam plan to build more than 600 coal power plants. This is from June 2021. And China's already built, I think, something like 300 new ones. So I don't know. It doesn't sound like they've been listening to Justin Trudeau. Maybe they don't get the CBC. Now, this is from 2017. And you can see it's roughly the same. Here's China, 27% of global emissions. And this is Asia, and they count the Middle East in that as well. 53% of global emissions. And here we have Canada. In this one, they say 1.6% of global emissions. So you got 53%, and then you got 1.6%. And then you got Mexico here with 1.4%. Maybe Mexico and Canada could team up and do 3%. So I think we've established that what Canada does on climate does not matter. I guess you could say that Canada could set a good example by somehow drastically reducing its energy use. Well, let's take a look at greenhouse gas emissions in Canada from 1990 to 2019. So from 1991, they are up modestly, but you can see since around 2003, they actually have come down slightly, which is kind of impressive, actually, when you see Canada's population growth. Right now, the population's at over 38 million, but we can go back to 2003, 31 million. So there's been about 7 more million people added in that time. And you can see that greenhouse emissions have actually gone down a little bit. Not that it actually matters. I'm sorry. We didn't save anybody by doing that. But let's take a look anyway, just for fun. I mean, there must be huge amounts of energy consumption that we can just get rid of, right? That we don't need. Well, let's see. So how about this waste and others? Surely we can get rid of the waste, right? Well, what is waste? Oh, well, that's light manufacturing, construction, forest resources, waste and coal production. Well, I don't, kind of sounds like you need most of those, don't you? How about agriculture? Well, we do kind of need food, right? How about heavy industry? Well, that sector, the heavy industry sector, consists of emissions from mining, smelting, and refining, pulp and paper, iron and steel, cement, lime and gypsum, and chemicals and fertilizers. So you kind of do, like an advanced civilization kind of does need all that stuff. Otherwise, you can't really do anything or make anything. So, yeah, okay. I mean, I guess we'll have to keep that. How about electricity? Well, you can see actually electricity has become more efficient. So that's a good spot, right? And, nobody really wants rolling blackouts or, I mean, people like electricity. Probably we should keep it. And this isn't looking good. World's top 10 oil exporters. Let's see. Canada is the world's 4th largest exporter of oil. In 2020, the country exported 6% of the global supply. Well, I mean, 6% ain't nothing. But if Canada turned off the tap, the world's going to keep using oil. I mean, the only thing that would happen if Canada stopped exporting oil was that the price of oil would go up a little bit. And maybe there'd be some tiny marginal lessening of the use of, maybe there'd be 10 drops less of oil used around the world. Okay. But problem is in the modern world with high density cities is that you need to get food to people, right? You need to produce the food. You need to get the food to the people or the people starve to death. That's the thing about it. Also, people want their comforts. People want to live comfortable lives. And over just the last 50 years, the number of people that have gotten access to the kinds of things that we take for granted, the kind of comforts that we take for granted, has skyrocketed. And here's another thing. Canadian oil and natural gas provided $105 billion to Canada's gross domestic product in 2020, supported more than 500,000 jobs across the country in 2019, and provided $10 billion in average annual revenue to governments for the period of 2017 to 2019. And if you like your universal health care, that stuff doesn't grow on trees, but it does come out of the ground. So I don't want things to be too depressing, just pointing out that Canada's measly contribution to CO2 emissions is maybe not worth a national panic attack, especially considering that nobody actually really seems to care anyway. I mean, at the end of the day, people still want their avocado toast anyway, and they don't give a shit how it gets to them. If people are cold, they're going to crank up the heat. And if they want to drive somewhere that's far away, they're going to drive there. Because the fact of the matter is, modern societies need lots of cheap, plentiful energy. And it makes our lives pretty good. If you want to be, zero carbon, go live in a cave somewhere. Well, if you can find the cave, you have my blessing. But, I'm not going to visit. I'm just going to put it that way. And the thing is, this is true the world over. Nobody wants to live hellish lives, or they want to have the least hellish life they can possibly live. And as we've seen in Asia, I mean, there's just nothing but lip service. And if there's nothing but lip service from the people who produce 53% of global emissions, Canada has zero chance of doing anything, obviously. But maybe there is something that can be done. Maybe it's new technologies. Guess what? You need money. You need to be a wealthy society to be able to invest in research and development to come up with, next gen technologies. That is the only way out of using fossil fuels. There just is there's nothing else. And windmills aren't going to do it, and you're not going to be able to fly planes or drive, semis with solar power. That's not even remotely close. And before you start getting into the comment section talking about electric vehicles, where do you think the electricity that goes into your car comes from? It's not hamster wheels. Why don't we hear more about stuff like this? Geothermal energy is poised for a big breakout. An engineering problem that, when solved, solves energy. That's renewable. I mean, we're capable of, massive engineering projects. Maybe look into this a bit more. How about this? Next-gen nuclear is coming, if society wants it. Scores of nuclear startups are aiming to solve the problems that plague nuclear power. There are reactors that burn nuclear waste. There are reactors designed to destroy isotopes that could be made into weapons. There are small reactors that could be built inexpensively in factories. How about this? Other reactors, like terrestrial's molten salt cooled design, automatically cool down if they get too hot. Water flows through conventional reactors to keep them from overheating, but if something halts this flow, like earthquake or tsunami in Fukushima, the water boils off, leaving nothing to stop a meltdown. Unlike water, salt wouldn't boil off. So even if operators switched off safety systems and walked away, the salts would keep cooling the system. So we're talking about much safer nuclear technology. And is there danger in any kind of technology? Sure. But if you think that the world's going to end in 20 years or 10 years, whatever, I mean, you got to try something, right? And by the way, I'm not sponsored by, next-gen nuclear reactors, all right? I'm just saying that here's something that's actually maybe kind of realistic. Anyway, I guess my point is just stop the hand-wringing about carbon emissions. At least in Canada. If you want to worry about in China, well, you're putting out 28% of it. But, there's not much Canada can do about that, is there? And in the meantime, really get on top of next-gen technology, which then can be sold around the world, by the way, which would be very good for Canada. Because this whole, again, hand-wringing over carbon emissions is not going to do anything. People still want food, and they still want warm houses in the winter, and they still want air conditioning in the summer. And civilizations still need to move stuff all over the place to keep functioning. I mean, just think of every industry around you, okay, and just decide, pick one. Okay, we'll get rid of that one. Or we'll reduce it by 50%. None of it's realistic. Anyway, that's all I got to say about that. Please subscribe, like, and share. That really helps me out. If you'd just like to listen, there's the audio version. It's on every platform, including Spotify and iTunes. Thank you very much. I'll see you next time.